What's up, guys? We are back with another review, something a little bit different, off the beaten path. The folks over at Bombusbee sent over this guy. This is from the folks from Fancy Realm, is the maker of this one, and the line is called the Investiture of the Gods. And this guy, it's a mouthful, is called XIAN. He's like a Chinese mythological goat man, basically. What's really interesting about this is if you're familiar with Mythic Legions, Four Horsemen stuff, it's painfully obvious right off the bat. This is very much playing off of the Figura Obscura aspect of things. The packaging is almost identical in terms of its layout and how it's structured. It even has the outer magnetic clasps on this, and then you can take it off and you've got, the outer flap that has artwork on it, and it's got, like a little setting on the inside, things like that, which is kind of cool. There's no reason another company can't try that, but it's just kind of an obvious thing there. And then on the inside, you've actually got the box itself. It is kind of hard to tell what's in here because there's like plastic over top of the figure, but you've got the figure and some accessories showcased in the window, and then you've got this very Chinese mythological sort of artwork styling all around it from front to back, and then you've got a shot of this guy's heads on both spines there. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Fancy Realm XIAN from their Investiture of the Gods line. So this one is, something that I really have no frame of reference for. I'm just going into this in the context of it's a monster demon kind of goat dude, and it's an action figure, so we're going to talk about it. At face value, it looks pretty cool, so we've got to see what is actually going on here. Now, as far as articulation goes, there is some oddities about this figure, but not exactly anything too crazy. Some of his design does limit things. I'm sure you can understand right off the bat. The big one, the head is going to be a bit of a problem. It's on a double ball peg. He can surprisingly look down a little bit. You can't do much upwards, and there's no tilt. You do have some rotation. He looks to his left better than he looks to his right because of this pauldron. He also has this skull necklace. If you take that off, the down on the neck will work better, but it's part of his design, so I'm leaving it on for this. Arms go out at the shoulders. This one goes that far. This one can go a little bit further. Again, he's got just a giant, it's a giant skull pauldron. It's going to get in the way. Not surprising. You do have swivel at the shoulder, of course. You've got that. We have a bicep swivel. It's easier to show on this arm just because of that pauldron. Both of these are fairly tight. Not in the way that I'm concerned about them. It's just the one odd thing on this figure that seems tighter than the rest are those bicep swivels. You've got double jointed elbows, so you got pretty good range there. Nothing really getting in the way. And then you've got ball hinge for the wrist. So, in and out, and there's tons of range there. And then, of course, that affords you up and down, side to side in any direction. What I was really curious about is the torso, because he has this big belt on him. At first, I wasn't sure where the waist on him actually was, but if you really start to crunch him, he still can go pretty far forward. I did have to push, don't get me wrong. He can still go pretty far forward despite having this thing, so the joint is somewhere around there. So you've got some wiggle room. There is swivel as well. You're going to want to swivel him with the legs more than anything else. But you do have a twist there also. Your legs go out to the side all the way. They do kick forward. He does have, a whole bunch of stuff here, but it doesn't exactly get in the way. This is all fairly pliable. Thigh twists are up there. They were a little tight on him as well in the same way that the bicep swivels were, but they're looser now than they were previously. You've got double jointed knees. They go back about yay far. And then, of course, he's got hinges, and he's got rocker down at the ankles. Now, he is a goat man, so he's hooved, which means he, stands on his toes, basically. But there is still a decent amount of rocker for that kind of joint and for this style of foot, so it works fairly well. He does have a tail. It's on a little ball peg, but it's just a little bushy thing, so it just barely moves a little bit. So he has fairly standard articulation, nothing really surprising or different, or nothing here going to change the game, so to speak, but I do think he moves a little better than he might appear at first glance, simply because of that torso range when it comes to crunching him over, considering all the stuff that is on top of him. Now, as far as the overall look and feel, this guy really does it for me pretty much across the board. There's one area where I'm not as jazzed about it, but overwhelmingly, I think this is a pretty solid looking figure. It's got some size. It's got a lot of stuff on it. It's got a lot of asymmetry. And this is also one of these weird figures that has lights in it, which at first glance probably sounds pretty ridiculous that this thing has lights, but we'll get to that. and how they implemented it. So this is obviously some sort of monster, demon, goat man, based in some sort of mythology. It's obviously very Chinese leaning in terms of a lot of the details on it. I really like this. I love the asymmetry of it in particular. When it comes to like monsters and armored creatures like this, I think having asymmetry is pretty cool. There is a lot of removable stuff on him, like all the stuff on his arms, even the pauldron up here can come off. This wrist guard can come off. These little bangles can come off. They're not affixed, you can just slide it all off, but they're pretty tight. Like this is on there in a good way. It's not gonna come off unless you actually want it to come off. All of the it's not soft goods, the cloth type of stuff, so the shirts, the loin piece, and then like all of this stuff, the pants, the shorts, I guess is really what they are. They're all textured. They're pretty heavily weathered also. There is a great deal of paint on this guy. I mean, there's gouges and marks and all sorts of, battle scarring on the pauldron here. The horns are individually painted. They've got, goldish yellow accents going up these horns. The wrist guard is painted. It's weathered as well. You've got asymmetry down here on the shin guards, which are like, wrapped to him. They're not actually like being worn in a sense that they'd have to be wrapped on him, which I think is pretty cool. So he has to have them sort of affixed to him. You've got pretty decent dry brushing and detailing in what would be the fur on the legs. The area that I'm not the biggest fan of this guy is the fur pieces, parts on the arms. They look really chocolatey to me is the only word that I can really say. They look a little bit different. They look kind of flat in comparison to a lot of the other heavy weathering and I guess texturing that we get with some of the other pieces and parts. It's maybe a minor gripe, but it's something that kind of stood out to me as I've gone over this guy. But like in comparison, you've got this waist guard here, which has a lot of weathering, a lot of muck and grime, and then all of this intricate detail with the, like the leather patterning. You've got this animal print all over it, all of that paintwork. So where maybe some stuff isn't as detailed, other stuff is more detailed. So it's maybe a give and a take. It's still like, this kind of stands out to me. This just looks fairly, I guess, plain in comparison to some of the other stuff on this figure. He does have, a pretty unique design. He's got some size to him. So let's just real quick, I'll throw something in here. This guy obviously, like I've said, kind of screams some sort of Chinese mythology or inspiration to me. So I'll use the Monkey King from Four Horsemen. So this is, of course, a figure obscura figure, which is kind of fitting because I referenced that when I was talking about the packaging. He is fairly big. He's 7 to 8 inches tall, roughly. The horns do, of course, add a little bit of size to him. But I think this pairing actually looks pretty cool. I'm all right with that. And then, of course, like I said, he does have lights. And the lights are, well, light, I should say. The light is in the head. And it really works specifically with this. So this is a faceplate. And there are a few others for this figure. So there's the light in there. And this faceplate is actually translucent. So it's meant to be like a charging, screaming sort of, light, energy, chi, whatever you want to call it, emitting out of his mouth. And as of now, I honestly don't know how they intend for you to turn this on without a magnet of your own. I can't find anything in the box that has a magnet in it yet that seems to work. Usually these figures will have a little doodad that turns it on, and either I'm just not noticing it or I can't find it, but I've got a magnet. So, just touch it to his head and you've got a blue light in there. It's blue, which kind of threw me off because the head is actually like a pinky red translucent plastic, but it's so bright. Obviously he's under bright light right now, but in the dark, this thing is super, super bright and vibrant. And it's always kind of cool. Like, I really like the idea of these weird things that have lights in them. This is definitely one of the weirder ones, but it's a cool idea. And the head in general, I think, looks good. It's a very, it's a very expressive face, head sculpt. I love these horns. You've got a movable earring here. It's not going anywhere, but it moves. You've got a little asymmetry up on these horns with this bangle that's up here on top. And then, of course, you have kind of these telltale goat eyes with those rectangular pupils in there. But I think the expression in general works really well with the light aspect of it. And for me, a lot of figures seem to be coming with lights these days, especially a lot of these third-party Chinese companies. And quite frankly, I'm all for it because I think it's a lot of fun. But again, like I said, I'm not really sure how you're supposed to turn it on unless you've got another magnet laying around. But any magnet will seem to do the trick. Now, as far as accessories goes, this guy comes with a really solid spread. There's a lot of stuff here. And in particular, this is a deluxe version. There are two different variants for this. There's a regular one, there's a deluxe, and the deluxe just has more stuff. So if you want more stuff, you get the deluxe version. It's not much more expensive, honestly. So we've got, to start with, we've got a bunch of hands. So he's got sort of like relaxed palm sort of hands. You've got a set with some really interesting finger placement, honestly. Like these are kind of like, I don't know, they look like he's about to snap his fingers or maybe cast a spell or something like that. So you've got two of those. You've got a set, obviously. You've got a set of gripping hands, and then you got a set of like grappling, grasping, you know, more splayed finger kind of hands that really show off those claws really well. So you've got a bunch of different options when it comes to hands. He does have two different faceplates, and I'm going to stop for a second because I realized my mistake when it comes to the light feature. And I think there is a piece for it, but I think there is a little bit of a caveat. So this guy right here, and this is kind of what I thought it was, this is what turns him on officially. It doesn't really work unless you take the face off, though. Like it's the magnet, I guess, is not strong enough to get it otherwise. And I guess I didn't try this. So there, it's on now, and then it's off. So it's just a magnet in there. But if you have a slightly stronger magnet, like I guess the one I pulled off my fridge, it will work through the head and you won't have to do that. Not that it's really a problem, but it's something to keep in mind, I suppose. So it does include the thing to turn it on, and that does, of course, make perfect sense. Now, in addition, he does have extra faces. So you've got the screaming one here. We've got a more stoic, standard one. His mouth is open here, but you've got a more standard, not screaming face. But my favorite is this one, because this guy has absolutely gotten beaten up and bloodied and battered, and he has a bloodied face. So he's got a swollen eye, he's got a bloody nose, and he looks like he has in general had a bad experience. So you've got this one if you want to have like the after effects of a battle or mid-battle or something. I really like the idea behind that one. And then he does have, in general, just a lot of other stuff as well. So we've got this little skull right here, which has a gash in the skull, like in the skull, the forehead, basically. Now, in the product shots, there is a skull that actually seems to go inside of this flame. I'm not really sure where this is supposed to position or how it works, maybe kind of like that. It doesn't seem like it fits perfectly. Like it's really small. It's in there, but I feel like if I look at it wrong, it's going to fall out. But this does seem to be meant for this green flame effect. So you've got a skull in there, which is kind of cool. He does seem to be kind of like a mystical kind of creature in many ways. So I guess that tracks. He's got this wine jug thing, which is, something that we see pretty consistently across, like, Chinese lore and mythology. Sun Wukong, Monkey King comes with something like that. We've got a handful of weapons. So you've got this like curved knife or dagger. It's it's really long, but I think it's called a dagger. And it has a faux leather sheath for it. It's really, really tight, but it does eventually want to go in there. You can kind of get it, but you have to really, really force that thing in there to actually get it to work. But I guess it's better than it falling out. There is a lot of intricate sculpt on the actual blade itself. This looks really good. Also, it's got a sling so you can wrap it around him. A lot of gold paint on that also. We've got this really long spear, which I really like. These his two major like big weapons I'm a big fan of. So you've got this with like this emerald inlay up top. That looks really great. Paint detail on this thing is wild. It's taller than this figure is. And then he's also got this double-sided like axe type spear with a pointed blade at the end. A lot of detail, a lot of paint on here, more of that sort of, dark green emerald embellishment up there also. So that's really cool. I really like this one. This is probably my favorite accessory. And then with the deluxe version, you get a bonus weapon that comes bloodied. And I got the bonus sword, dagger, whatever. So it's the same weapon. It just has a bloody sort of paint scheme on it, which is kind of cool too. It gives you an extra one, if anything, so you have more weapons. And more weapons is pretty good always. He also includes a base. So this is kind of like a standard, stage, something like you might kind of like see with like a Mezco almost. It's very similar to that. It comes with an arm, but then it's also got this base on top that is not part of it. You actually can attach that or take it off if you want to position the arm in a different place for some reason. You could do that, but you've got him positioned over top of basically, a goat skeleton, essentially, which is kind of weird considering he's a goat man, but you do have that base as well. So he's really loaded. There's a lot of stuff here, a lot of cool accessories. Really love the selection of weapons. And again, like I said, this does turn him on. You're just going to have to take that face off to do it. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with this guy. XIAN offers a lot when it comes to just being an action figure. He is a very specific kind of thing. You have to really want a goat man to maybe be interested in him, but he is a pretty cool just demon, generic monster type guy as well too. The only thing I'm really not a big fan of is the paint scheme, the paint direction, I suppose, when it comes to the arms. Again, they kind of look chocolatey to me. Is that the only word that I can really use for it? But the rest of the figure, I think, looks really great. He moves well. He definitely moves better than he looked at first glance. Comes with a ton of cool accessories. He has a light up feature, which, of course, I did eventually figure out. And he comes with a big stand. He comes with really just about everything you would need for a demon goat guy. So that's going to do it for this look at the Fancy Realm XIAN. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.